Welcome to this State of the Collection video. I am Alvin, aka the Theorist. It's a new financial year, so it seems like the right time to do a State of the Collection. It's the first time I've done it. Let's not talk about the state of my finances though, as I've just moved house, so I have no funds to waste on watches. But it makes it a good time to reflect on the goodness that I already have. I believe the phrase is humbled and blessed. This is the Japan edition. It will feature 10 Seiko watches with a couple of Orients thrown in for good measure. We're starting with Seiko because it is the gateway drug, as is so often the case. I'm sure some of you will relate to that. I will be splitting the State of the Collection into a few videos because I haven't got all the watches with me after moving house. But I think today will be Japan, then we'll do a Swiss, and then we'll do a Chinese. We'll do something like that. Just to add a bit more context, a couple of years before I bought my first Seiko, I bought two modest entry-level premium Swiss watches, a Raymond Weil and a Tissot. But between that time and the first Seiko, there was no watch action at all. I was busy with work, getting into a new field and trying to not mess that up. So when that first Seiko came, many followed. Too many followed, actually. Not just Seiko. Okay, let's get into it. Once upon a time in 2018, there was a man who had no Seiko watches until one day an absolute bargain was found. It was spring, fittingly exactly 7 years ago. The birds were singing and the sun was shining, and I was about to take a step that would ruin the financial stability of my future self. I bought the SKX 009J, I bought a SKX 009K for my brother, and at the same time I bought the second watch that will feature here, the Seiko 5 Field. All these three cost £353, which is insane. Not only was it a bargain, but it was a stunner. So much attention to detail and variation of finish, colours, the dial, everything was so cool, and I was so impressed. The only thing I miss now is a signed crown. At that time I was new to the online world of watches as well as watches in general, so seeing that there was wisdom of a watch crowd was very cool. Getting recommended a watch by everyone and then actually realising it's pretty bloody awesome is a nice feeling. And it's also cool that it's essentially a budget watch that everyone loved and enticed fans of all backgrounds and wallet sizes. It was definitely a revelation. I've never really stopped loving it. Every time I put it on, it is a joy. And the only time I've regretted is because of the Pepsi bezel when a delivery driver thought it was a Rolex. You idiot. It's a bloody Seiko, you bloody idiot. Recognise. I don't see myself ever selling this watch. It's a keeper. Watch number 2. This is the Seiko 5 Field SNK805K. I really enjoy this. It's different to all my other watches. It hasn't had much wrist time. I think when I initially bought it, I really loved the design, but on wearing it, it was a bit too small for my taste at the time, especially with the SKX and a couple of other big watches. So it's pretty much in mint condition. Though recently I've been wearing it a lot more often, and that's because I have lost a bit of weight and being too old and fragile to exercise too heavily at the moment. I think my tastes are changing a little bit simply because my wrist has become a little skinnier, and it was already skinny, so I'm not particularly enjoying that side of being healthy. But pros and cons. This is a keeper too. I don't see it going anywhere. There are numerous new iterations of this watch, but I find that a classic to be the best. I don't like the new Seiko 5 logo. The old ways are the best ways. Next up is the Seiko Samurai SRPB51K1. This was bought in August 2018 and is the big daddy of my Seiko bunch. Samurai is a favourite, and when I was a bit bigger doing the weight training, making all those gains with that protein powder, that creatine, and a lot of steak, this was on the wrist a lot. I love the aggressive angles, the dial texture, the bold design, and the different design touches. The knurled crown is one of my favourite crowns. I think it's the best crown. The only issue, again, is not signed. An S on there. Put an S on there, Seiko. But at the time, it really suited my sporty lifestyle and yeah, just the vibe that I was going for. And since losing a bit of weight and not being as big, and it's been a few years since I was a biggie boy, and since I've had the Zenith, I just haven't worn this as much. But when I do, it's still a pleasure, and it won't be going anywhere. So after a few months of enjoying all those Seikos, in October 2018, I went in for an Orient Mako 2. And this remains one of the best bang for your buck dive watches available. You can still get one for like 180 quid on Amazon or something like that. It fits really well. The blue dial is one of the best dials as well you can get. That blue sunburst is amazing. Automatic day date. and it's strap positive. Even in Seiko's catalogue, I don't think there is as good a conventional budget diver as this. I would recommend this to anybody starting a collection. It is just one of the best budget watches you can buy, full stop. I recently changed the strap on this. I've had the bracelet on it since I bought it. I put a strap on, I think, last year, and I've been wearing it more than I thought I would. And it's a great summer watch. I can't believe how good it is, actually. As you can tell, this won't be going anywhere. Next up is the Seiko Flightmaster SNA 411P1, a legend. Busy old watch that doesn't appeal to everyone, but I really like the design and the size. Actually, it fits extremely well, and it's probably one of the best fitting watches I own on my wrist, regardless of size fluctuations of that wrist. The only other watch I've thought, wow, this fits really well, is a Rolex GMT Master 2. Don't have one of those yet. But yeah, it's just a very well proportioned watch, and the design features are really nice as well. The dome glass adds some character and something totally different. It's a quartz, so I'm happy with a quartz. If it does a few extra bits and bobs and is special in its own way. Unfortunately, it needs a battery at the moment. I recently got some changed, but I forgot to take this because I'm an idiot. It gets more wear in the summer for sure. I think just because of those yellow flashes, it's fun, colourful, and it's one of my favourite watches. Actually, I think all of these are. This won't be going anywhere either. I bought this in November 2018, so that makes 5 watches in 2018, which is too many, but is not my record. So in June 2020, something magical happened. Saab 035. This is one of my favourite watches, and it always will be. Though I bought it in lockdown, so it was an emotional support timepiece, and probably the only Seiko I own that has been sprayed with antibacterial juice. It had an impact on me, and maybe there wasn't much going on at the time, so these things this is more vivid and more meaningful than it really is, but that was a tough time for a lot of people, and we all had our own comforts, and this was one of mine. When I opened it, I was just shocked at how perfect the proportions were. I hadn't seen one in real life, or anything close, actually. A couple of months later, in August 2020, my blog was born, The Theowrist, my first child. Yeah, it's because of this watch. This watch inspired me to do something more, which is a bit weird, but it's just exactly how it happened. It's because of the Saab 035 that I started this journey. It inspired a creative revolution in me. It's really quite something. Maybe I just needed to get it out and this was the way, but this watch, it is designed perfectly. Everybody loves it. Since its release in 2008, it's been absolutely loved and lauded and enjoyed by many a watch fan. And there's a reason for that. It's because the design language is absolutely bang on. The size is universally loved. The dial of this and the other Saabs, the KitKat markers, the super sharp hands, the applied logo, applied window frame on the date. The crown is signed, and there is nothing much that beats it in my eyes to this day. On to the next, and this is another Orient, the Bambino 2. I bought this in lockdown and obviously was working from home and spending too much money on watches, although this is only my second Japanese lockdown watch. I believe there are a bunch of others which will follow in other videos. This hasn't really had the wrist time it deserves recently. I think it's because I changed the strap a while ago, and I don't love this strap, to be honest, but I haven't bothered to change it, and hence it hasn't had the wrist time. It's got great classic style, and that domed, well, the glass box style is a little different, and it adds some character. It's just a very classic and lovely design with some great features, including the blue hands and applied indices. It does get a lot of love from the non-watch people I know, which is nice. Definitely need to change a strap. I will do that, and then I will wear it more often. Now on to another legend, Seiko 5 SNXS 7.3. This is another one of those bang for your buck, best value watches you can get. I've covered this recently in a video, the 5 things I love about this watch. There's just so much to love. So I picked this up in August 2022 and was immediately won over by it. Not just the great value, obviously it's modelled after the Oyster Perpetual, but it's built its own legacy, and it doesn't mean anything more than that. It's a billion times cheaper and it looks really good. The only issue with it is that big old case back, but otherwise it's just a cracker of a watch. I like this dial in silver. There's a bunch of others, and I did consider grabbing one of the others, but I'm not sure if I will now. I recently put this on this NATO, and I love it. I didn't think I would. wasn't sure how the NATO was going to fit with the big case back, but it sits acceptably well on the wrist considering, and it looks really good, to be fair. It's a beauty in any outfit, and this one is a keeper as well. I don't think I'll ever get rid of this. On to the Seiko Prospex SKX007J1. Picked this up in September 2022, which is 4 years after the 009. And since buying the 009, I always thought I should pick up a 007. Whenever I looked, it's the same old story that they're poor condition or overpriced or both. And then when I finally came upon a good one, it was right time, right place, I pounced on it. To this one came with a mil-spec bracelet, which is pretty nice as part of the draw. I'm definitely glad I bought it. I have both. They definitely bring something different. This one's a bit more serious, and the other's on the NATO, so it's a bit more chilled out. The other one's more summer. I'd say this is more whenever. Again, classic design language, a Seiko legend. I don't think I'll ever get rid of any of these, to be honest. I'm definitely glad that I've got both in the collection now, and the next one is inspired by these as well, so let's have a look. This then is the Seiko Prospex SRP J41K1, a collaboration with Kosuke Kawamura. It's a limited edition, obviously based on XKX design. This I picked up in September 2022. So Kawamura-san is a graphic designer, art director, and artist who collabed with Seiko for 2 pieces at the time. This was the lower of the 2. I wish I'd got the other one, but they were sold out already, and then they were reselling for silly money. At the time, I was on a self-imposed watch buying ban, but I found a way around it, which was a little bit underhanded and wrong. But there were 4 left on the website, so I bought them all and then sold 3 of them, which allowed me to keep one, having paid £0 for it. I know some will frown on this, but it was just a spur of the moment thing. I don't do it regularly. I haven't done it again, but it did allow me to get this watch. So it all worked out. And considering I think I bought 7 watches in 2022, so I had to do something sensible, even if it was a little undesirable, let's say. Actually, I haven't worn this for ages. It looks great. Some great design touches. That's why I wanted it on the bezel and the see-through dial. It's really cool, but it doesn't get any wrist time these days. I'm not sure whether I'd keep in this, but I'm not planning to sell it anytime soon, but it's a lovely watch. And it's nice to have a newer version of the SKX that isn't one of the new Seiko 5s, because I'm not that keen on those. Well then, the Seiko Spirit Saab 070. Picked this up in June 2023. I think this is the only watch I bought in 2023. No, correction, the only Seiko I bought in 2023. I was researching a blog post and ended up on eBay. Supposed to be doing a bit of window shopping when I saw this, and I just thought it was a stunner, and I dropped a bid on it and ended up winning. Knowing what I know about Saab via the 035, I knew it'd be a cracker, and it's something different on the strap instead. Now, these originally have a gold bezel, but this one has been polished off, and I prefer it that way, and I wouldn't have bought it otherwise. I don't really like gold watches that aren't made of gold or aren't plated with real gold. I'm not sure why. I just don't like it. It's not my vibe. Well, not yet anyway. I'm sure something will come along that will make me change my mind. Actually, there is one. It's a Saab 072 in rose gold that might make me change my mind if it didn't cost £1,000. Anyway, this with the gold hour markers and the sunburst dial is just a touch more flashy than the Saab 035. It's a cool variation to have, and it won't be going anywhere. Onto the Seiko Prospex Alpinist SPB337J1, the Night Edition, Black Series, Limited Edition, etc., etc. So this I picked up in March 2024. It ticked a few boxes for me, this one. I have wanted an Alpinist for ages, and I do like the Saab 017, but since long ago it's been overpriced in the pre-owned market, so I never really found the right deal, so I just left it, and then I left it too long. And I didn't want to get the replacement, whatever model that is. I also wanted a black watch, and then this came along and it ticked those boxes, and I thought, might as well go for it. But when I saw the price, I changed my mind because it was 850 quid. It's too much. And so I waited for a deal, and when one came up, I pulled the trigger, and I did not regret it for a minute. It's a great watch. It does give me full-on Alpinist vibes, but with a bit of an edge, a bit more rugged, and then obviously the black darkness is nice, a nice variation for the collection. A lovely package, but unfortunately, even on a discount, it is the most expensive Seiko I have ever bought. But that doesn't mean that I will sell it anytime soon, or even consider selling it. Okay, so last but definitely not least, the Seiko Spirit Saab 033 bought in March this year. That's the last watch I bought, actually. I hope it's not the last watch I ever buy, but if it is, it's a worthy one. So a year after buying the Alpinist, this came along, and it's something I've been looking at for so long, since I bought the 035, which is 5 years ago, and that is insane that it's that long ago, and then I waited this long. But again, I would look every so often, and they'd always either be too expensive or in poor condition, or both. And so I waited and waited. And now 5 years later, I got one, but it was quite expensive. And I suppose as long as it works, and it does at the moment, it's definitely worth it. I became distracted by all the Chinese watches, and then the AD got me all Hans Wilsdorfed with Tudor and Rolex. So yeah, and then I came back to Seiko. Actually, it's weird that even though in between buying the Tudor and the Rolex, I've bought a couple of Seiko. So that just says everything, really, doesn't it? I absolutely love this. The black dial adds a little more, it gives it a different air of class than the white dial of the 035. It's a beauty. Maybe a bit more casual, maybe, with a black dial, a bit more versatile. I think I might be okay with just Saabs in the collection. The Saabs will be the last to go. And maybe there will be a few others on the way, the Saab 037 and the 073. But the prices are outrageous. And same again, if you can find one in good condition, then outrageously expensive. For now, the 033 is a beauty, and I will enjoy it very much. It ain't going nowhere. But if it does, I will overcharge somebody. Well, I suppose I'll have to review all of these at some point. That'll keep me busy. But they're all a joy to behold, so it'll be fun. Let me know what you think of my Seiko collections and those two Orients. Which Seikos am I missing? There are quite a few options. Some of the bigger ones are the ones that I like the Tuna and the Arnie, but those are too big for my skinny wrist, so I have skipped them. Anyway, that's Japan all wrapped up. Thanks for watching. Like and subscribe and comment. And I will be back with the second part of this, or maybe another review very soon. Thanks for watching. Have a good one.